I'm going to be talking a bit about Satansbos, which is an invasive weed which is re-raising its head in some of the dry parts of the country. For those of you unfamiliar with the plant, it's primarily a plant, a weed of agricultural lands. Not so much open felt, it doesn't tend to invade open felt, but it invades lands, crop lands, from small vegetable gardens, backyard gardens, through to large irrigation schemes. There's some pictures of it invading lucerne fields. It can spread by underground rhizomes and by seeds, and forms very, very persistent stands that can last for many, many years. There's Terry Alters at the bottom right, who's doing who's done a lot of work on Solanum, elaeagnifolium, and bottom left is my son Max, just to show that I'm supporting the ongoing sort of fight against weeds into the future. These are some of the towns around where I stay. At the bottom left there's Grootfontein, and all of those little red dots are where I found this plant at the side of the road. It's all around Grootfontein, Ardendorp. Top right is Janssenville, it's all over the whole of Janssenville. That middle picture there is Zastron district, kilometers and kilometers of it, and in the Middelburg and surrounds, in Middelburg itself, Grootfontein, which is where I am, Rosemead, some of the farms nearby, and Stainsburg. And so we find that it's in agricultural lands, but also in towns, and along gravel roads especially, where graders can disperse it. At Grootfontein, we have we've made a Eradicate Satansbos Action Group. Hubert Forst, who's a co-author of mine, has done this, and we have a whole lot of stakeholders, and we're going to try to get money from the expanded public works program. It has been promised to us, hopefully we'll get it as well, and the approach there will be hopefully that we can use some of that money for herbicide and for people to eradicate it. Grootfontein itself, our approach, and I hope that some of you have some feedback on this. We're looking at it in four ways. Firstly, biocontrol. What we'd like to do is to try to, either on farms or alternatively on the experiment station itself, produce the biocontrol agents, breed them and allow them to be available for people who want to distribute them elsewhere. Research we'll talk about. Information, we want to expose this public to it, connect to schools and to farmers and so on. The talks that we've had on social media and so on have been very interesting, and we hope to pursue some of those ideas. And then monitoring as well, we want to monitor where this plant is on farms, in towns, and we hope there to have a public social media or citizen science type approach where people can in some way report and let us know where this plant is occurring. My principal interest is in the research that we should undertake into controlling this plant. And there are a few ideas that we've had. Firstly is to look at the registered herbicides, the herbicides that have been registered for it already, and how we can work with them. The registered herbicide is Tomahawk, peroxide. Then we'd also be interested in looking at new herbicides that haven't been registered for it, and the approach we take there is to look at other herbicides that are effective against Solanum species and then progressively more distant species taxonomically. What the previous speaker was talking about is interesting, is that is it possible to apply herbicide and get it to go throughout that plant and kill the dormant buds? You don't need to worry about the carbon underneath the soil and the carbohydrate reserves if we can kill those buds. Grazing by herbicide interactions, grazing down the lucerne or the pastures, and reducing the leaf area index and then applying herbicides. That's another area that we're interested in looking at. Defoliation, I think a basic mechanistic understanding of how the plant responds to defoliation, to clipping, is important, and I think something that we haven't looked at in enough detail in many, many species. We just look if they die or not. We don't really understand the mechanism of what's happening. And the fourth one, which is maybe the most important one, and I think the direction that Australia has taken, is that of competitive exclusion. Satansbos isn't the most competitive plant on its own. It's actually quite a poor competitor. So how can we adjust its plant environment to increase or to decrease its competitiveness? How can we increase the competitiveness of the surrounding plants to allow them to outcompete it? And I think a few issues that we need to look at there are grazing management, obviously, also oversowing with other species, and also looking at fertilization to encourage those other species. So that's an overview of it, and any comments and remarks to be welcome. Thank you.